anything to get out of my life. Refreshing forever. I hope this thing did what it was supposed to do. Yep, it did. So I'm gonna just do this. Gonna do that. Ah! Stop it. Okay, now you can get out of my life. Okay, Aquarius. And yes, if you do happen to have an Aquarius, sun, moon, rising, you get the idea. I'll scoot you over a little bit for just a second. Oh, that did not go as planned, so I'm just gonna tell it to piss it and lick it. Oh! Oh, we can dip. You quit doing that? Thank you. So, Aquarius. Stop doing that. There. So for Aquarius, we're gonna pretty much just pull one Goetic Divine. That's gonna help you for the month of December, or, you know, even if Lilith or Lucifer Guru pops out. Aquarius Rising? Well, I am one too, Cat. And also an Aquarius Moon. And an Aquarius Retrograde Saturn. And an Aquarius Black Moon Lilith. Sheesh. Looks like I'm a lot, well, I guess you can say literally I'm quite the blowing one. And also my sun's in Libra. Okay, this thing can just get out of my life. Take that. Skedaddle. So, let's see who comes out, at least from the Glacier Tarot, to help Aquarius for the month of December. That just made my day. So, Aquarius, you happen to have Lucifer as your divine figure from the left, being your supportive force this month. Gee, what a good one that is. So, Lucifer as a divine is very, 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 very similar to Shukracharya from the Hindu mythology, which is also the planet Venus. So essentially this month of December, you're going to have Lucifer be extremely supportive and very uplifting, and also bringing a lot of awareness to you. And also, since Lucifer is a Venusian divine, he is also very encouraging, very supportive, and also helping to also being able to find your wishes being granted and assist in them being granted, and as well as also having connections, relationships, and other aspects of life, including relationships with other entities and left-hand divines. He's actually going to be very prevalent in ensuring that those connections and those wishes that you want for the senses get fulfilled. It looks like he's holding 2 pieces of lavender stalk, which look like this. He's holding 2 little pieces of lavender like that, so most definitely he may be helping you get more in tune with the spiritual side, but also helping calm you down if anything bad happens this month. And since it's Venus in Capricorn, specifically in the degrees of 0 to 12, which is also where it turns into Abhijit and Shalavan, which are like the nakshatras or constellations within the sign of Capricorn in the beginning. Essentially, this month you're going to be having a big supportive boost in anything that you do and have victory be ensured to you. But also being able to understand that to give your ear to give your emotions and support other people. Are you familiar with Shukracharya? Srivalsan? Is that how you say your name? Are you familiar with Shukracharya? Because I believe, if I remember correctly, you're native from, is it India? I think? if I remember correctly. I don't have the best memory. I don't really usually remember everything most of the time, but sometimes I do. Because if you're... Okay, so if you're familiar with Shukracharya, that's essentially the same thing as Lucifer. Because they're pretty much almost identical. Near identical, yeah. So, there you go. And essentially, Lucifer, again, yeah, India. So, if you know how Shukracharya is, then you know how Lucifer is. They're pretty much the same. Like, one of the best teachers to the demons, which are the people, and is also the most accepting out of all of them, and doesn't turn anybody away, and always brings people out of death. Same thing. So now for the weeks of the 5 weeks for this month of December, 1 card a week, and then we'll see what comes out. So Aquarius, this first week. Strength. This is not the strength you think it is. Strength. She who's most high, High Priestess. Temperance. 3 majors. Wow. And it's funny because the bat wings is a figure and is underneath Lucifer's card. Something's planned here. Then the 9 of Pentacles, which I don't like that card that much because I think, oh, it's a He Who Font duplicate. Okay, one of the cards flipped. I thought it did. Now let's see who decides to come out next. And finishing up with the Ace of Cups. Okay, so let's see here. Let's take it from the tip up. Week 1 for Aquarius. Not you, He Who Font. Get out of here. You He Who Font look-alike. So week 1 for Aquarius. Strength. This week you may be faced off against a figure that's like really intimidating you, really scaring you. And actually maybe trying to take advantage of your innocence. But you actually this week should actually look up at it and be all, your breath stinks, dude. You're not going to make me do nothing. I know what you really are. You're not going to take my sense of self away. Because again, what Lucifer does bring, he does bring in that sense of enlightenment and awareness to know, to see something for how it is. So, essentially, this figure that's trying to intimidate you won't have really that much effect on you in the first week, but also understanding to be able to control that this entity can also represent the side of you that gets pretty aggressive and table flippy. Have more control of it and not let it overpower and take over your sense of self and blind you. But also at the same time, being able to look back on a side of you that's more easygoing, more innocent, and more pure might be something that has to be done in the beginning of this week, December. Then the next week, High Priestess, she who's most high. Now this depiction, we have a woman figure in a robe, and she's holding an urn, and it has blood coming out of it, and the B and J towers are smashed. So essentially what I'm getting, the next week you may actually have something sacred to you, and now you had to protect it. Or you're essentially kind of also breaking away some things that are just not needed and they may be traditional to actually be able to finally get a hold of something that you have been desiring, and you have to really keep a hold of it and be protective of it. But it is an investment that you've been desiring and longing for such a long time, even like maybe even more than a decade. But once you obtain it, you have to remember that you fought for this, and now you're not really going to be explaining why you fought for this. Because High Priestess is also a figure that's silent. And then Temperance. This depiction, we have a vampire figure standing on the edge of a waterfall, looking down. So essentially, this could actually be the most prime of where Lucifer comes in and actually brings the light to you. Because if you notice in the background, the sun's coming up. And spirituality and emotions and water is coming down. So in the middle of the week, which, I mean the middle of the month, not middle of the week. Check the dates real quick. Escuchi. So that's next month. Come on, dude. 1, 2. So from the 12th to the 18th of next month, you actually might be having Lucifer become more apparent that month. You may become more keen on coming towards you and actually really wanting to make the changes for you than he usually is for this month. So expect him to come in more often. But since Temperance is also about taking one state, like one side, these two, and then transforming them into something else. Because it's taking A into B. Is that I'm going to try and pronounce that word. It's like a metamorphosis process. Then the next week, which is the week of Christmas, on the first day of, nope, not gonna get copyrighted, 9 of Pentacles. This depiction, we have a He-Who-Font figure, and his eyes are black. Oh, and he also has this too, because why the heck not? He also, like, his whole neck is blood red. So for that week, the week of Christmas, you may be putting on a deception that month. You may be playing it off like, oh, there's nothing wrong here. Everything's cool. All is well. All is well. Love is... there's nothing wrong. Knowing that there's something much more to the surface. In other words, you could be just going along with something and not really being fond of it, or you could actually be going along with it to actually be gaining something. Like, pretty much just, like, for example, like how Lilith was like, yeah, I'll marry you, Adam, sure. No. Or even better yet, like with her and Yahweh and how she tricked him into doing Genesis. Yeah, I'll be your queen, but you gotta do this first. He does it all, she bounces. Putting on a deception just to gain something. So you may have to be a little bit more deceptive that week, or even Lucifer may be revealing to you that sometimes deception is the way to go. And then the last week of December, going into the new year, we have the Ace of Cups. This depiction, we have 2 hands mixing blood together in a solo cup on a piece of chainmail. So taking this figure of intimidation and your light, and you're gaining the final thing that you've been working for and been trying so hard to break things down and finally get it, will be metamorphosized into using deception into getting emotional fulfillment, and that's all getting the purest sense of love and commitment and emotions. Just kick off the new year, and Lucifer help you guide you with that. And you'll actually never have to go through this defensive and way of combating ever again because it's on the chainmail. So you can finally actually use that defensiveness as your foundation to actually build upon this emotional connection next month, or even spiritual connection you get next month, even involving Lucifer you may get. So then I'm going to also pull for the physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. And we'll see what comes out of there. Physical health, health-wise, and all that. Yes, you can, Cap. Have at it. Physical health is the Knight of Twigs, Knight of Beating Sticks. Mental health, the Star, spiritual health. Cheesy. Spiritual health, the Lovers. Tongue piercing as in like this one, or because I know like a certain amount of number of piercings causes like a certain effect, but since it's a tongue piercing, that could also show that spiritually, and it can also show someone having a strong lust and desire for, say, enjoyment of taste, and also wanting to have enjoyment of the taste sense, and also wanting to indulge more on the many ways that one can culturally speak to another. Like another way somebody can speak in a way that's more like in a different culture's tongue, because that can also show that someone finds a lot of beauty in the way that somebody else speaks from a different culture, or like how someone spiritually speaks about another entity, and you find beauty in that, if that makes sense. That's like off the top of my head, at least that's what I get. And also have a strong, yeah, wow, I'm just throwing everything out of my head. Well, I think like after I'm done with Capricorns, everything, I guess I'll come back for like a Q&A, but yeah, I'm do that. But for Aquarius, for the physical health, Knight of Twigs. Well, talk about having a motivating burning twig to the tush. So your health may require you to be a lot more physically active, being able to get up and go get things a lot more. And also, make sure that you don't get, even though it's winter, pretty much, kind of, in the northern hemisphere, make sure you don't get dehydrated, and make sure you still keep your fluids up, and also make sure you keep yourself warm. Because warmth, but make sure it doesn't get out of hand that you actually start a fire. And if somebody is being a little bit too rash with the way that they interact with you on the physical, make sure that you know your boundaries and keep them strong and standing. Mental health, the stars. Now, having the stars be your mental health this month, yeah, exactly. Essentially, use the stars and in outer space and any time of the dark to actually use that as your meditative space, because with the dark, you don't need anything. You just gotta and there you are in the dark. Meditate a lot more and focus on being in the dark more, because the dark, some people say, oh, it's bad. No. What the dark is essentially a void that has everything that you say that's in there. And what you say is in there is what comes out. So why not just say everything that you want is peace, and that comes out. Security, and that comes out. Being protected, and that comes out. You see what I mean? Now, spiritual. Here comes the cheesy woozy woo. You'll actually be having a figure help connect you. Gee, what are the chances of that? What are the chances of that? Oh, freaky deaky. You actually may have a spiritual connection or have a figure help you find this connection between you and somebody else and actually invest in it and help it grow. Lucifer's really good with relationships too. So there you go. That's another spiritual theme for December. I don't think I have to go much more deeper into that one because that one kind of speaks for itself. Last and finally, rude. I didn't even have a chance to fully shuffle the deck. Let's try that again. Final words for Aquarius, and then we go into Capricorn. Same way as, I started this one. For the Capricorn, no, Aquarius. Last words. 2 last words. The World. Which is funny because this looks like the High Priestess that was just out. Definitely not planned. Definitely not planned. And Ezio from Assassin's Creed. So, your final words, Aquarius. Like everything that you've gone through this year, all the BS, that's going to come to an end. You're going to ascend, and then you're going to actually be in a state where you're well more prepared and you're actually armed, ready for the next year. Because Ezio, I have to go by the depiction because this is the Ten of Pentacles. Other than that, so with this depiction, you're actually going to be getting out of that state that you were in this year, which may not have been the best. You're going to be rising up out of it, and then you're going to be armed. No, I didn't. But specifically, next month, you're going to be given all the tools and everything that you need to take on the next year. Funny enough, remember, Lucifer is guiding you this month. So, just make sure next month you're a lot more in the shadows and not really saying and giving out too much. Because you'll be quite surprised that sharing with other people, like your goals and what you want to do this year, it can cause some level of hindrance to it. Just as a warning, it won't happen. It may not happen all the time or the most extreme, but it has potential to be a thing that can happen. And the last thing you want to do is have something that you've been working on for so long just get. No, we don't want any of that crap. So anyway, Aquarius, that's what I got for you for the month of December. And now I'll be going to do Capricorn next. So see those watching in the next two shakes.